Hello, everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to a very special live Kaiju Connections. And this one is dedicated to unproduced Godzilla movies. And to talk about those amazing films that's been unproduced, I'm gonna, I've got in front of me a palette of amazing guests. So I've just muted um Sci-Fi's mic
Okay.
just to see where the backlash was coming from.
Yeah,
It's all
there's some feedback.
I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one.
so obviously anyway we'll crack back on.
She's Alexa.
Oh God. We're getting to a good start now.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna bring out Alexa.
That bitch knows how to piss me right
He's
off.
gonna be the new Kaiju.
So I was like, "You gonna mute me? Oh, I got my own weapons."
Yeah, it's definitely Sci-Fi's mic.
Okay.
But anyway, fun times when you go live. But yes. So as I was saying, welcome to the entertainment headquarters and welcome to Kaiju Connections in this very special episode of Kaiju Connections, which is dedicated to unproduced, unmade Godzilla movie productions that people have heard about, but they've never really talked about them. And that's what we're here to do. So, we'll check again. Can you hear us, Sci-Fi?
Yep. How's it now?
Yeah. It sounds amazing. It's like heaven.
Good, dude. It's good.
That's right, dude.
Sorry, man. I apologize, man. It's always me on some fucking shit like that. But okay, go ahead.
At least you didn't disappear last time when we did this. I disappeared without a fucking trace, though. Yeah, it'd be all right.
So this is what I like to call Godzilla Unmade, and to talk about these amazing movies. As you can see, I have a panel of amazing guests. Mr. DJ Anubis of the Metal Tavern Radio, Mr. Jedi Velle, Sci-Fi Sentry, and of course, Daniel Miller, aka The Professor.
Good evening.
Yes. So, gentlemen, where would you like to start? Is there any particular film that you would like to talk about right off the bat?
Oh, well, can I start with one? I mean, there's one particular one. I mean, I'm pretty sure no one's heard of this. Well, I mean, you guys at least. There's one called A Space Godzilla. That's what it's called, A Space Godzilla. And
So you call it in the house.
I see. What's up, Jake? I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's basically a film that surprisingly, here's a synopsis of it, because I heard about this and it's strange as hell. Basically, Godzilla turns out to be an alien, okay? And somehow, and it's a female version of Godzilla too. That's the other thing. Finds herself, washed up on shore, and she's dying of, get this, diabetes. Okay, weird. And somehow some scientists decide to take her body, and oh yeah, this is the other thing. She's pregnant. Okay, I'm not making this like I say. This is adoption. That's like this is why some of this stuff that unmade Godzilla films are like. They're so crazy in tone. When you hear about them, it's like, are y'all fucking serious? But this one happens to have a female version of Godzilla, but it's alien. And the scientists somehow managed to reinvent her body by turning it into a rocket, sending her back to her home planet, mind you. And she teams up with this other alien, and they defeat some kind of alien race that's going to destroy her planet with her baby and everything. It's just so crazy. So, and the weirdest thing that they actually made a short story of this synopsis into a a magazine years ago. This was supposed to come out in like 79, and the weirdest thing about this film is it almost went into production, but somehow someone no, what it was Tanaka. He said like we ain't doing this. We're not doing this. I guess when he remember the smoke monster situation, he said like we're not doing it. And the funny thing is, the guys who are going to do it, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this film, 1977's House, that sci-fi. What is
I
it?
don't know if you can see it. That is the poster for this actual film you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Oh,
It's
nice.
a space
Yes, that's
Godzilla.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, but have you guys heard of that film House? Not the 87, not the 86, 85.
Not the horror film.
Yeah, not that one with William Catt. It's a Toho 1977 horror comedy that came out. Well, the basics of it is the guys who made that film were going to do this film. And I just had to bring that up because when I first heard about this, I was like this. I've heard so many iterations of different Godzilla Unmade films. This one struck me as particularly insane because if you took the guys who did House, which is insanely over the top, you would see them do something like this for this film and just take the ramifications of what that is and just run with it. So you can imagine how crazy this film would be. But like I say, it almost got to going into the planning stages of being made. But like I say, the producer who owned it rights, he said, no, this is not happening. You know?
Yeah, so it's got what I'm reading here, Walter, is A Space Godzilla is an illustrated short story that was published in 2 parts in the February and April issues of the Japanese edition of Starlog magazine in 1979. It is based on an idea for a new Godzilla film that was proposed to Toho but never produced. So in reading the concept, they've got the plot outline here. It does mention the things you've mentioned. Godzilla washes up on the shores of Japan, dying of diabetes. Scientists are able to examine the monster's organs, including its brain, and after an attempt to communicate with the brain psychologically, it is discovered that Godzilla is actually an intelligent alien creature named Roseanne. Not Roseanne Barr, because there's nothing intelligent about her.
Exactly.
Roseanne from the Godzilla planet, located in the region where the strange dark nebula signals originated, and is pregnant with a child. Against the protests of the victims of Roseanne's rampages, the monster's body is transformed into a rocket in order to send her and her unborn child back to their home planet. Once there, Roseanne and her child Lilith are united with their husband / father, Cunning. The Godzilla planet comes under attack from an alien race known as the Sun Aliens, a species of half-human-looking creatures. Cunning and the now grown-up Lilith combat the Sun's General Gamorna in order to defend the planet, eventually emerging victorious. Now, that just sounds like an absolutely crazy idea. It sounds like it's a film that came from, like you say, Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah. But as I said before, if you, like I say, the guys who were supposed to do it, I would suggest to all of y'all, if you ever decide to watch this film, House, you could say that what you just read would actually make more sense, and it would be like, that is kind of like so weird. It's like, it would make House kind of look, although I wouldn't say House would be look, because House is crazy enough. Okay. So to take that concept and just run with it. Yeah. So, I mean, if they were able to make it now, I don't know if I know you wouldn't take it seriously, but I would feel like it would be a good experiment to see how you can take Godzilla's character and somewhat run with it.
The fact that they would have changed Godzilla and made him female, though, I don't know if that would have been one of the things that Toho were against. Like, I have discovered this image. It's an image actually from the magazine of Godzilla washed up on the shore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about. I've seen it.
Yes, so he's actually washed up on the shore there.
I know what you're talking about because I've seen that image, and it's funny how they're experimenting or working on her and whatnot, and they say also this would have killed the franchise off anyway. But then again, you can't necessarily kill what's unkillable. Okay, yet just because you kill it off here doesn't mean you're going to kill it off later on. It's going to be resurrected.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and Toho doesn't allow that anyway. They say Godzilla's got to survive regardless.
So, what year was that film due out? 1972. Was that when that was?
No,
proposed?
79. It was 79 when it was supposed to be. Yeah.
Well, there is another film that I'll bring up, and it is the direct sequel to Godzilla versus King Kong.
Continuation. King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yes.
I definitely know about this.
Yeah.
1963.
The year the American version was released.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes. So the idea of this is, of course, it's actually if they had made this, it would have been called Continuation King Kong versus Godzilla, 1963. So Continuation King Kong versus Godzilla is an unmade 1963 direct sequel to King Kong versus Godzilla. And the plot is about after a plane crash in Africa, Nikio Products employee Nomaru leads a search party. The assignment is personal. His girlfriend Mitsuko's older brother was on the plane, along with his wife and child. After coming across the ruins of an ancient civilization, he finds only the child under the protection of King Kong. So that is how it would start, and he also battles a giant scorpion, and eventually they do find Godzilla's body. So Godzilla must have died at the hands of Kong in the last movie. He's actually dead in this one, but then throughout the plot of the movie, he actually gets his heart revived. And the final battle is with Godzilla and King Kong, who are consumed by the eruption of a volcano.
That's interesting.
What a load of shit. Godzilla,
Right?
Godzilla lost to Kong. What a fucking sorry, forgive me, God.
Sentry, that's what I was thinking.
But you see how that's almost a plot similar to the War of the Gargantuas, because at the end, sorry, spoiler alert to people who haven't seen the film. They get destroyed.
The volcano in Tokyo Bay.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason they wouldn't have went ahead with that plot is because Godzilla's already dead and he's revived, so it means he looks weak, because it means Godzilla would have been killed by Kong in the previous movie. And for him just to be revived to then battle Kong again, for them both to just die in a volcano, makes no sense to me. It doesn't sound very adventurous or creative. And what I've read about the plot, the rest of the plot is more or less a Kong story about Kong protecting this baby child that he finds after this plane crash.
What's her face from Monsterverse?
Yeah, Gia.
Yeah. Jaya, just like her, yeah. So for me, it doesn't make sense. So what it says here is following the huge financial success of King Kong versus Godzilla in 1962, Toho immediately began production of the next Godzilla film, hoping to repeat the success of the previous film. Toho initially decided to produce a direct sequel pitting King Kong against Godzilla once again. Shinsuke Sezawa wrote a screenplay for the film, which had the simple working title of Continuation King Kong vs. Godzilla, and submitted it in 1963. However, the film was quickly scrapped and replaced with a film pitting Godzilla against a giant version of the Frankenstein monster, titled Frankenstein vs. Godzilla, which was instead split into two different films, Mothra vs. Godzilla and Frankenstein vs. Baragon, in 1964 and 1965, respectively.
That would have been a interesting
So,
concept.
yeah, because, me personally, I don't know if that particular film would have worked, because I simply think it would have made Godzilla look weak.
What I like about this movie as an example is that elements of a movie that weren't made found themselves being brought to fruition in another project, started from scratch. So there is proof that the original concept did exist at all.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Is there any film Sentry that you've read about that wasn't made that you wish had been made?
The only one I can think of, I mean, it's probably the one that everybody knows about, and that's the one from the early '90s. And that's the one where it was supposed to be an American produced film, but they, I don't know what happened, they scrapped it, or they couldn't either get the rights, or that's the only one I can think of, because really, like, I don't get too into the information part of the unmade movies, like there you go, like the unmade movies of Godzilla. I never looked into them, I guess because they were never made. I'm like, okay, if they were never made, well, why am I going to look into it? But that's the only one I can think of.
I know that Jan de Bont was supposed to direct it. He was supposed to be.
Yeah, and like I said, that's the only one I can think of, but I know we'll talk about that one down the line, because I know that one is one that, a lot of people, like a lot of the hardcore fans like us, really wanted, but it never came to fruition. So
I know, even though the film wasn't made, it is kind of like it's become synonymous with Godzilla. I wish they would at least, especially when you've got all these different, merchandise companies. I would have loved to have seen a figure produced if that design released.
If it were released, it would probably be through Trendmasters.
Or
they had the
X
rights
Plus.
back at the time.
I could say X Plus doing a statue.
Yeah.
Of that particular design. If they still have, I'm sure somewhere there'll be stuff put in a vault of that particular.
The funny thing is, I've heard this the synopsis of that film way back since '93, and I kept, like I say, I kept hearing about the budget. I kept hearing about this, and like I say, after Speed, they suggested, like I say, the Bond to direct it, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna be up there. But then, like I say, it got put on the table. I mean, got put in the trash, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we're never gonna see it. Then, of course, history was made with.
Wasn't Stan Winston involved in the Unmade '94 movie?
Yes, he was. It was the Stan Winston workshop, so that's it there. But we can talk a bit about that. So, DJ Anubis, is there any particular film that you've heard about that you wish got made?
Nope. I mean, the only thing I could think of, and it was already made, but obviously GMK, like the initial idea was that Angarius was going to be in there instead of Baragon. I would have liked to see that, you know.
Varan was also
Yeah.
meant to be in that movie as well.
If you look at this concept art of Anguillus for JMK, if you look at the head looks like Ghidorah.
Yeah,
A little bit. Yeah.
sure does.
Yeah, well, I'm in the same boat as DJ Anubis, because I never did the research on it, because I guess since they weren't made, I didn't feel any reason to look into it. You know, I mean, if that makes any sense, like, because I'm not lazy when it comes to research. I'm just, you guys already know that I'm very picky. I'm a picky fucking motherfucker, dude. So it's like I just, if it's something that's not gonna be made or not, it's not gonna be put any energy into, I overlook it. Let's just put it that way.
Well, here's the thing about that, sci-fi, is the fact that there are tons of movies made that are produced. When I say produced, they got the idea that's like, okay, we're in the staging plans, but I hear about them. I hear about them through word of mouth. And the thing about that is knowing that, that's understand. But see, you got to remember too, if you're not like a big movie fan like myself, because I eat this shit up like candy, because whether it's going to get started or where it's going to be not made, I hear about this stuff. So it's not unheard of if you never say, okay, it didn't get made. It's like, I got to really look about it. But I personally kind of dig deeper because, like I say, I want to know why this wasn't made. I'm like, why this didn't get off the planning stage, and you think like, okay, I can see why that didn't go through, and I can see why that didn't make the final cut, but it only for those, and I think that's for me personally, who likes and loves those little behind the scenes stories, because you'd be surprised how many unmade stuff, not just in the Godzilla territory, but in films, whether in UK, Australia, or here, you'd be surprised what was come up in terms of wanting to be made a movie and never got even a sketch. It was just an idea, So that's not unheard of.
Something that I can most recently remember when it comes to film is the latest Star Wars trilogy. You have the final, you have The Last Skywalker as it was released, what they created and what they came up with. Then you had Colin, I think it was Terrat. What I forgot how you say his surname.
Trevorrow.
How do you say his name, Daniel? He directed the Jurassic World movies.
Colin Trevorrow, I think it was.
So Colin Trevorrow, he had his version of the last movie within the trilogy, and he was meant to not just write it, he was meant to direct it. And I know that they eventually released his outline of that film, and even though it wasn't perfect to see, it was very much a better overall story for the final chapter of the last of the Skywalker saga. So so even though it's not canon, I wish it was canon. And it's like one of them things, it's not going to happen, but you can wish it happened. Like, the 1994 Stan Winston Godzilla movie, I wish it would have happened, but it didn't happen. But yet the concept art's out there, the pictures are out there, and I wish they would just do like some sort of throwback to that time for the fans and release a figure or a statuette. Another character that gets talked about a lot who has never made it to the big screen is Bagan.
Yeah, that's right.
So he made an appearance in a video game, and I think he was originally was down for as a concept for a film, but because he never materialized in the movie, they put him in the game, and now he's getting his own X+ statue. He's been featured on Godzilla Ban, which is like the kiddies program in America, Japan. So even though he's never physically made an appearance in a movie, he does have a genuine fan base now. and he is like a
Maybe-
fan. He's like a fan favorite.
Maybe he might make an appearance in a future Toho movie.
I would like to think so.
Yes, that was a thing,
Godzilla.
Jacob Jones. That was.
Oh yes, yes. It was an idea.
Mhm. Now, there is one particular Godzilla film that I personally wish they'd made because I just liked this idea. It was a film idea for a movie called Godzilla versus Red Moon.
Yes, I heard about this.
Yeah, so Godzilla versus Red Moon. So-
You want me to- yeah, I was gonna say, you want me to kind of put the cherry on top with that one? No, I remember this. It's I think it was like two creatures? I forget that I went down, but it was basically they were terrorizing Tokyo Shore or something like that, and I think this Godzilla came in to clean up the mess, but he didn't kill or destroy the baby or something like that. It was something around because it was a mother and father situation. Like they had a child, and like I say, they were terrorizing the countryside of Japan, and they pretty much.
so-
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that film, Godzilla vs. Red Moon, was planned for between 1970 to 1973. And its alternative title was Godzilla Red Moon Erebus in Halfen, Monster No Man's Land. So the concept of this movie is Godzilla Red Moon Erebus Half Fun Monster No Man's Land is an unmade Godzilla film. So here's the history of Godzilla Red Moon. Godzilla vs. Red Moon would have been a collaboration between Toho Studios and Tsuraya Productions. Sources disagree on whether this film led to the 1972 film Daigoro vs. Goliath, produced by Tsuraya and distributed by Toho, or would have used its three monster suits. Godzilla Toho Champion Festival Perfection states that it was in the works as early as 1970, while Toho Tokusatsu unpublished works give it a planned 1973 release date. The film's screenplay was written by Tetsu Kinjo and Kazuho Masuta and would have been produced by Noboru Toshiba and directed by Shohei Tojo and with special effects by Kazuo Sagawa. According to the script's opening pages, the film would have been approximately an hour and a half in length and would have been aimed at a summer release date.
Oh,
Wow.
that's kind of interesting that was the case. From what I heard, I think, like I said, I think there were some drawings of this, if I'm not mistaken. I hadn't never seen it. I mean, there's so many things that are out there that if you dig deep, you will find these things, and it's just like, really, this was supposed to be a concept, and that's all it is now. It's concept.
See, I like it because when I read the plot, it's like just a very adventurous Godzilla movie. So the plot is a strange new kaiju emerges from the moon's surface and quickly flies down to Earth. Upon reaching its destination, the creature is sighted and dubbed Red Moon. Almost simultaneously, another kaiju appears on the nearby Habu Island, located in a part of the Ryukyu Island chain within the Okinawa Prefecture. The new monster is then dubbed Erebus. The Japanese Self-Defense Force comes to the conclusion that the two monsters should be led to one another in the hopes that they will kill each other. The plan to lead the two to one another is a success. However, instead of fighting, the two monsters mate, and it's revealed that Erebus and Red Moon are female and male representative of the same species. Erebus then gives birth to Half-Fun. With the situation only getting worse, the JSDF is scrambling to create a new strategy to deal with the kaiju. Things go from bad to worse when Half-Fun is kidnapped by an entrepreneur. Shortly after getting kidnapped, Half-Fun dies during the moving process. With the child dead, Red Moon and Erebus go berserk and start rampaging the once peaceful Okinawa. Having sensed the two from the beginning, Godzilla finally arrives and goes to battle with the two kaiju, emerging victorious and bringing peace back to Okinawa. At the behest of a child, the Monster King throws Erebus into the sea and spares Red Moon, who retreats back into space. So
That's a lot.
that's a lot, but I think it's something different that we've never seen in a Godzilla movie before.
What
And I
year was
like
that one
Go
produced?
So if that had been produced, it would have came out between 1970 and 1973.
Okay.
Well, here's an
Is there
interesting
still
thing.
feed-
Now, I'm pretty sure you got this on record. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Is there still feedback coming from my end?
No.
No, not at the minute.
Oh, okay,
Unless
just wanted to
Alexa
make
comes
sure.
up.
Don't say it because it's still freaking. Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is actually a Japanese news article talking about the pre-production of the film.
Okay.
And as you can see, they've got 3 different kaiju designs. I'm assuming the one with the wings and the horn is meant to be
Yeah,
red.
Yeah.
Because I've no
I mean,
one
it
thing
is a
that
lot. It is a. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
no, all I was going to say is, as it said via the plot, Red Moon survives and flies into space. Now, Red Moon's the female, so I'm assuming because she's female, she's larger than the male, so she's able to battle Godzilla more.
I mean, it is a mouthful of a story, man. But it's like, wow, it's just like you would think you would come up with those kind of names back then, and it is interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's now that you're digging up the information on that. It's like it does does sound kind of interesting.
Yeah,
But
there
I
is.
I should have.
Would that have been like, because that would have been part of the Showa era, and for me the plot feels and sounds very much in like all of what we would have got from the Showa era.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there would have been 2 more monsters that you have to add to the Showa roster.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be post destroy all monsters? Right.
Yeah.
And
So
and I like I add this to it too. I mean, and it's gonna sound weird, but it almost sounds almost Christopher Nolan-ish when you hear that plot a little bit. When I say that, because it's how Nolan makes his scripts so thick with a lot of what the hell is this? It's kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's just like
possible.
I mean, so many different ideas like they come up with, but they only like the Japanese. I guess they're perfectionists and they want to really want to make the right type of kaiju sound interesting, like the name, the look. What do most of us as a kid identify when we found out about different monsters in the Godzilla universe, the Toho universe? Their roar. The roar differentiates every single type of kaiju. So that's why it was so interesting how Toho worked back then in making their kaijus different, not just in appearance, but the way they sound, the mannerisms and stuff like that. And
yeah
I kind of agree with what Big Bad Wolf said. If you look at this is just some concept art. So you've got like this one that, for me, you know how this year we had Godzilla, X Kong, the New Empire. There was rumored of a kaiju in that called Phosphora.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now, for me, this looks like it could have been Phosphora, just the look.
And I'm pretty sure you guys saw like a early or almost a concept, or like I say, what was going to be originally in the film itself, Godzilla X Kong, with that particular design. That
Yeah.
wasn't going to be Mothra.
That's right. They replaced it with Mothra toward the end of production.
Yeah, Jason the Unstoppable.
Right.
Yeah, Jason
Now-
gets smoked by radiation.
Another film.
I mean, he got
Another-
melted by toxic waste, so
Yeah.
There is another film that I've been looking at, which is basically, it was called Godzilla versus the Giant Mutant Starfish. That was its nickname. Godzilla versus the Mutant Starfish, and its actual name would have been Hitoda.
Why
And
does Starfish just sound so wrong? Oh, okay.
oh god.
Chocolate Starfish.
I was going to say, chocolate starfish.
cheap
Limp Biscuit style.
Yeah.
But that image did look cool though.
That is.
Kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of what do you call it? Suma Gorath from Marvel. It's like kind of like a
Yes.
Starfish.
Yes.
So
I
this
was, I
is
was thinking like Hellboy and the Seven Gods.
yes, Hellboy and the Seven Dogs. Yes. So here is the history of this particular movie. Following the release of Godzilla vs. Hedorah in 1971, director Yoshitomo Banno planned a direct follow-up to his film. This time, Banno envisioned Godzilla's opponent as a giant mutated starfish, created either through pollution or like Hedorah, or from radiation emitting from a fallen meteorite. However, Banno discarded the idea in favor of a direct sequel to Godzilla vs. Hedorah, pitting Godzilla against a second Hedorah in Africa. The mutant starfish was later revealed to Western readers through a published interview with Banno, featured in the 2001 book Tokyo Scope, the Japanese cult film companion by Patrick Macias. So there is actually information out there in this book about this potential Godzilla movie. The
You want
mutant
to know what's funny about that one, and it's the previous one we were talking about, the sequel to King Kong versus Godzilla. They're both taking place in Africa, and I was kind of, when I read about that, I was kind of like, why is Africa such a wondrous place where they taking kaijus into this place? You know, because the only time you ever could see Godzilla in Africa was on the Hanna-Barbera show when he's battling the stone creatures. But I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Japanese have a, kind of a curiosity about Africa anyway, because I've heard they're mentioning it many times in previous kaiju films, in the storyline. So to see a kaiju, well, we kind of seen this kaiju in Africa in some iteration, but to see that over there like that, it just kind of amazes me that I wish I could have seen that. I wish I could have seen Godzilla stomping his feet and being in Africa and doing that. But unfortunately, we did get to see him in Godzilla X Kong doing some shit to Kong in that film. So yeah, he got a chance to get his feet dirty in Africa for once.
Yeah.
But there are some trivia. The mutant starfish never received an official name, but various American fans and Godzilla-related websites have given the creature the unofficial moniker of Hitoda, which is a play on the Japanese phrase, for starfish. It should be noted that this is not the mutant starfish's actual name, despite its heavy usage online. Although not gigantic monsters themselves, the Bareem toxic starfish is spawned by and in the service of the large sea monster Daggada from the 1997 film Rebirth of Mothra 2, share some similarities with the mutant starfish. Well, Godzilla
I know
has...
what you're talking. I'm sorry, Kevin. I want to add. I'm sorry. You guys remember that the Gara was the one that was able to let loose those starfish that are kind of like toxic and they poison Mothra, they weaken Mothra. I just wanted to. Now I know what you're talking about. Now that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think about it sooner. But sorry, Kevin. I just wanted to add that.
No, it's exactly what Daniel said before. How an idea or a concept for a previous movie might not have made it the green light, but they've taken elements from particular, productions that didn't go ahead, and then they've added them to other movies. So the idea of this mutant toxic starfish did kind of in some way making an appearance in a kaiju movie.
Yeah.
But obviously just not on the level that they originally had the idea for. So like you see,
the idea was used though. That's the idea was used. I mean, figuratively for the starfish, and I forgot their name, but I know what you were talking about. The Gara is the one that she disperses them. So
Baron.
Well, even though it never made an appearance in a kaiju produced film from Toho, it does say here that a gigantic yet immobile starfish does make a brief appearance in the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla episode, The Macro Beasts.
Yes.
And
so
the
Hanna-Barbera cartoon series.
Yes. So this is a fan art that I found online.
That's pretty. That's pretty decent.
That's badass right there, man.
Yeah.
Let's see something like that.
So Hitler, let's hope he makes an appearance at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I was gonna say, now that I think about it, Hanna-Barbera, they use the Godzilla, but it's really not Godzilla as far as it's Godzilla, but it was American made. I don't know if you guys remember seeing the Hanna-Barbera. I'm pretty sure either Anubis or Walter know about it. The Firebird.
Yeah.
You remember the episode with the Firebird?
Yes. The Firebird episode.
Yeah, I couldn't hear Walter.
You did? No, I remember. I know. Dude, the funny thing is, I slept to go see this, and watch this in the morning, but I overslept, but I caught the final act of it, and I was like, oh yeah, this thing looks kind of like a little bit like Rodan, but I feel that, and I'm thinking that's what you're trying to bring up, Sci-Fi, is that I feel that this animation show was taking concept of kind of not so much deleted ideas, but ideas that came up from Toho and put them into this show. Because remember, not only was this being produced by Hanna-Barbera, but Henry Saperstein was kind of an executive producer on that show. So he might have had some influence on some of the make.
Well, no, yeah, but the thing about the Firebird though is that I think it did take aspects from it, but the thing is, the Firebird had a dinosaur type lower body, but wings.
Yeah.
And it had pretty big legs, like meaty legs, but the wings, the way it produced fire, I was like, man, like imagine if they could have made that into a kaiju in an American Godzilla film. That's just
I kind of wish they would have I wish they would have did a crossover with Godzilla and the Herculoids. That would have been fucking awesome.
Oh man.
Mm, yeah.
Oh man, see that you get me hard right there. Man.
Give you a little
Yeah.
bit of wood there.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
but on my side, it's being very glitchy. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We lost the
Okay.
host.
I
It's
was
so
gonna say, no.
glitchy. He's gone.
Yeah.
We lost him. He'll be back though. But no, dude. I mean, I would
Yeah.
love to see. See, they had a lot of that stuff back then. I don't know if you remember that, Anubis. They had a lot of those concepts for the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah,
that
'cause
was
you had. I also enjoyed Johnny Quest a lot. Had a lot of cool
Yes.
shit in it.
Johnny.
Space
But yeah,
Ghost.
Jacob, you're right about that too. Godzuki was definitely their version of Minya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo.
Oh, he's in the middle.
no,
What?
I'm not.
Okay, back up. Not anymore.
You know, I like to be on top.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh, sorry about that, folks, but I don't know what happened. The weather at the minute in the UK is up and down, so especially where I live in the northeast. So, of course, it kind of knocked me out of the stream, but I'm back. I'm back in
That's crazy.
business.
Well, let me ask you this, Kevin. You want to address that one elephant in the room Godzilla film that was supposed to be made, and I feel like we need to talk about it.
I don't know if I've got the energy.
Yep. I'll help you out with that. I'm pretty sure all of us have heard this. Batman meets Godzilla. Pretty sure y'all heard that. This was a serious outline. No joke. This was something serious that was supposed to be put into fruition. I mean, even when you hear it, it's like Batman meets Godzilla. What? But if you heard the synopsis, when the Adam West show was popular at the time, it was supposed to come out at that time with Godzilla, with Batman meeting up with Godzilla in some special way, and it was supposed to be a concept where someone gets kidnapped and somewhere someone gets whatever. But the basic line, film line of it was that they would interact, and somehow they get to work with Batman and Robin get to work with Godzilla or some kind of way, But it never went nowhere because the show got canceled in '68. So
Thank God someone got smart.
Yeah, right. So, but no, we had to address that concept because that was one of those films. I was thinking like, y'all are not serious with this.
Well, isn't there a comic though with Godzilla versus the Avengers?
Yes, that was
There
the
is.
Marvel Comics run back in the late '60s, and then
Now,
everyone
how
always.
did that play out? Because I've never actually read that comic. So how did that play
I'll tell
out?
you. I'll tell you how.
Tell
Godzilla
me,
is
Professor.
powerful enough.
Tell me.
Please.
Thor is overpowered by Godzilla, who's pushing a building on top of him, an entire skyscraper. Iron Man, I don't remember what happens, but he definitely does get a beating in the comic. I mean, I've got it on my shelf. I just haven't read it in, it's been ages since I've read it. But yeah, definitely is, if you find it, it's worth the read. And it's proof that the Avengers, they're not as invincible or as powerful as everyone makes them out to be. Not even against the
Right.
kaiju.
I was gonna say, I did see. I mean, it was a meme, like back in the days. I think when I first when I joined the community, when I first became a part of the community, and it was this meme where I think it was in 2014, but it was the 2014 Godzilla in the background, and then it was Batman in a building, and he just says at the side, he says, Alfred, get the Batmobile, we're leaving. Like he's like we're leaving Gotham. And I was like, exactly. How can you put that into a movie? Who would even think, oh, Godzilla meets Batman? How the hell So what? Batman's gonna have to craft an an anti-radiation suit, or he's
Awesome.
gonna get like one of those, you know. That's what I'm
Well,
thinking.
Yeah, that's
So I
Godzilla
just
challenging Thor right there.
well, remember, Batman, or say, AKA Bruce Wayne, is a very intelligent man, so he could have come up with some kind of concept to defeat Godzilla, but as we say, we're drawing straws because, as you say, sci-fi is like, that's a human being. This is a fucking tower of monster. How's that going to work?
I mean, yeah, I mean, he worked against Batman, and in Batman versus Superman, whatever. But he already had Superman already has a connection to the Earth, and then he has this weakness, which is kryptonite. Godzilla has no weakness. Yeah, throw him some cadmium missiles, maybe weaken his nuclear biological reactor. But what else is that going to do? He can't be poisoned. He can't be killed. Can't be shot. Can't be penetrated with any kind of weaponry or stuff like that. So it doesn't make any sense, man. I mean, if it was Superman or like the Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, okay, that's a little more rational.
Yeah.
But about like with Batman, I mean, it's just I don't know, man. I mean, I love Batman. Don't get me wrong, Batman's great, but to me, it just doesn't mesh. I mean, in comic book, yeah, of course, in the comics, that's fine. But like, if they wanted to make a live action movie be realistic, to that kind of point, like, no, it's just
and remember this, they actually did do a comic book version of that of Godzilla and Batman, with Robin and everything. But as you say, it was one of the worst on the comic side. Live action, like, okay, you push, and I think the only reason why they wanted to put that into effect, but this is something even the Japanese weren't immune to. Take something that's popular for the moment and mix it up with something else and just kind of mesh them together. So I guess they figure like, well, let's try. It may work. It's like they always say that.
So corny with Adam West.
yeah.
Right? That's what I mean. As hell.
You see what I mean? Imagine if they used Adam West. I'd be like, how? Like, it's just, yeah, man. It's just, I mean, but like I said, comic books, fine. The story, the comics, the fantasy, it's good. But go ahead, Kevin.
If you remember a few years ago, I can't remember, it was like 2010, something like that, when Adam West was still alive, they produced 2 animated movies. And they brought a number of the original cast members from the original 1960 show. I could see a Godzilla versus Adam West Batman working in animated film. Godzilla. I could have seen them do, because I know they had William Shatner was in the second one and did the voice of Two-Face.
Yeah.
So I could actually see it as like a campy, over-the-top animated movie, but not a physical, like, live-action movie. I just don't know how it would work.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Batcopter, Godzilla just swapped that shit. Come on, man. Like, Adam West, I need to study Godzilla. Godzilla would be like, bye.
Holy leaping lizards, Batman.
Right? Yeah.
Well played. Well played.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, I know, Daniel Miller, you want to talk about Godzilla 3D to the max.
Oh, yeah.
So,
not that one exactly, but another 3D movie that was meant to be released in the 1980s.
All right.
Yep. I have my
3D
notes
was
here.
big in the 80s, man. 3D was big in the 80s.
Dude, they were
Yeah.
making everything 3D. Friday the 13th, Jaws. All
Yeah.
of it.
Amityville 3D, Jaws 3D. It all had 3D in the title. And keep in mind, 30 years before, in the 50s, 3D became popular with Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's just it's this weird thing with 3D becoming a commonplace once every 30 years. Yeah, this is the one. Godzilla King of the Monsters in 3D. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about this one from my notes here. So back in early 1982, Steve Miner, who had just directed parts 2 and 3 of Friday the 13th franchise, was approved by Toho to conceptualize a Godzilla movie for Western audiences. When he acquired the rights, he would hire Fred Decker to write the screenplay. And Fred Decker, after this movie fell through, he would go on to do The Monster Squad. He would write the screenplay for the Lethal Weapon franchise. He would do RoboCop 3 and the 2018 Predator film, to name a few. William Stout was also hired to do the concept cast, who later on in his career would work on films like First Blood, Masters of the Universe, and The Mist. And yeah, there was a lot. Godzilla is a franchise where the 3D would... Yes, it would be. It would indeed be a natural fit in 3D. Now, there were two companies who were approached to do the effects for this movie. ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, and DreamQuest. Now, ILM, many of you know, would later be renowned for the CGI dinosaurs in Jurassic Park in 1993. And this Godzilla design here, if you can bring that back up a bit, Kevin. Yeah, now this design, this was actually based upon liaising with paleontologist Steve Zirkus, because William Stout was keeping in touch with him. And that's Stout right there. He was in charge of the conceptual art for it. That's the puppet there on his right hand side. Yeah. Now let's see.
That looks like the Godzilla. That looks like the Godzilla 62 with Godzilla versus Kong on the other arm.
It is. Now this is one of the many storyboards drawn showing how the 3D effects would work on the screen, and also showing some of the action sequences within the film that we never got to see. Now this film would have also be filmed in 3D and would actually use stop motion animation to bring Godzilla to life on the big screen, with a budget of $30 million, which, adjusted for today's inflation, that is $94,286,389 adjusted. So yeah. Now, there were two Hollywood producers who were really interested in financially backing this film, but when Miner presented the budget, they eventually said no. And Hollywood at this time didn't want to invest in what they thought was a children's movie. Keep in mind, the 80s, this was the zeitgeist of the slashers. You had the Friday the 13th franchise, you had the sequels to Halloween, you had Psycho 2, then later on you'd have the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and the sequels to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and all these other gory slasher movies that were coming out. But yeah, this would not only be the first Godzilla movie produced by an American studio, but it would also be the first time Godzilla would be brought to the big screen without using tokusatsu or suitmation. Instead, it would be done with go motion armatures and puppetry effects. So I'll go over the plot in bullet point form. If this sounds familiar, it should, because Toho approved the outline before Fred Decker wrote the script. Some elements of Miner's treatment were reused in later movies throughout the Heisei era. So a meteorite crashes into a satellite armed with nuclear warheads. One of them fires and hits the South Pacific Ocean, awakening something sleeping on the ocean floor. A fishing trawler from Japan is lost in the storm and then appears in San Francisco Bay after being burnt and damaged, at which point a news journalist, Dana Martin, sees this as an opportunity to advance her career. And of course, she sneaks aboard and finds a trilobite, along with a dead sailor who mutters the one last word before he dies: Gojira. Meanwhile, the US Navy is looking into the disappearance of a Soviet submarine that sank with experimental Dragon missiles while being observed by KGB operatives in the distance. After appearing in Oto Island, which in this version of Godzilla is not in Japan but is actually near Tahiti, a dinosaurian creature runs riot and then disappears back into the ocean. It resurfaces near... Oh, let's see... resurfaces
You just gotta love the way he narrates shit.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I'm listening to his voice flow out, and I'm just like, man, give me more. I'm loving this.
Okay,
There's
shit,
a
hold
reason
on.
why he's the professor, folks.
Oh yeah, here we are. Yeah, it reemerges near. It reemerges elsewhere on the American coast, dead, and it's carted away to a place near San Francisco. A paleontologist believes the creature is an ancient dinosaurian relative, whereas the government is adamant it's extraterrestrial in origin, and it's carted away and kept top secret. Meanwhile, another larger creature bearing a striking resemblance to this monster that's dead attacks an oil rig and a tanker near the Californian coast and is making its way down the coastline towards San Francisco. The KGB agents take one of the Navy colonel's sons, whose name is Kevin. They take him hostage and basically urge him to hand over the Dragon missiles or they'll kill his son. When their secret base, which is along the Golden Gate Bridge, is attacked when Godzilla appears, smacking the bridge in half as he begins his rampage in San Francisco. Meanwhile, the people who are guarding the carcass start feeling sick and exhibiting signs of radiation sickness, and it's revealed that the creature is much older than the dinosaurs and would have lived like a atomic reactor, a biological nuclear reactor. Meanwhile, Godzilla is on the rampage in San Francisco, and as actually what I like about this movie is that Godzilla displays initiative with his environment, because in the storyboards, there's a scene where Godzilla uses a train car like a swatter to take out the jets mid-flight, which I think would have been cool if we saw that happen on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, long story short, Kevin escapes the KGB. He goes back to his father. The KGB agent is killed by being kicked out of a helicopter and landing in Godzilla's hand, which Godzilla vaporizes him with his atomic breath. So on the helicopters, they have the Dragon missiles, and they're going to use an audio recording of the dead creature that they found earlier to lure Godzilla out of San Francisco and then use the Dragon missiles in an attempt to kill it. Mm-hmm. Which they succeed in doing so. They lure Godzilla to the shores of Alcatraz Island. They fire one of the Dragon missiles into Godzilla's mouth just as he's about to use his atomic breath. It starts a chain reaction, basically tearing out his throat, killing him immediately. And Godzilla dies on Alcatraz Island, and the film draws to a close. Now, this is a bit of a... Now, I do have a really big document filled with notes detailing how this is broke down, but yeah, I've had to condense it because we're on a time limit here. So yeah, elements of this were reused in later Toho films, like the nuclear satellites. They were reused in The Return of Godzilla the year afterwards, and 2 movies, Godzilla vs. Mothra and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, open with an asteroid flying through space, just like how this movie starts with an asteroid in space. And fun fact, Miner mentioned in an interview, said that if this movie was successful, he would do the same treatment with another Toho kaiju, Rodan, again with stop motion and in 3D cinematography.
Who? Wait, who?
Rodan.
Never heard of him.
Oh, Anubis. No. Where have you been living, Anubis? But yeah, unfortunately,
yeah, I love you
unfortunately, too. Yeah. Unfortunately, this film never came to pass because of its $30 million budget and lack of investment from Hollywood studios. So after 2 years trying to push this movie into production, Miner eventually gave up, and the film ultimately never came into fruition, bar the elements I mentioned that Toho would use in their own movies. In an interview around the time of Gareth Edwards' Godzilla came into theaters, Steve Miner was asked about what he thought of the film, and he said it was really impressive and said that with the technology Hollywood has today, it would be much more efficient to make the Godzilla movie that he wanted. Personally, I really am curious about this particular film, because not only would we have seen the first American-produced Godzilla movie done in the 1980s, not that far, less than a decade after the end of the Showa era in Japan, we also would have seen Godzilla handled in stop-motion animation, which I think is an interesting medium to take the King of the Monsters.
Definitely. Yeah,
So,
definitely.
what are your guys' thoughts about this?
I think it sounds really good.
Yeah,
And I think how you've explained it beautifully. That definitely sounds like a film from the 1980s, and it also gave me vibes of Jurassic Park, like how you explained, especially the concept art. Like some of the concept art, like for example, if I can go back to it, where was it? It's this, like that. Like if you'd seen that walking towards you, you'd probably shit your pants.
Yeah, there's also a lot of storyboard illustrations on there as well. Yeah, this is a good one with the jet coming in from screen left and just shooting off a barrage of rockets. And of course, this antagonizes Godzilla further, and we would have seen a glorious stop and go animation rampage of Godzilla in an American city. That would have been glorious, especially on a 35mm presentation.
I have to say, to me, if they did go that route, if they would have made it look, because like I say, you mentioned ILM, who were good at the go motion technique. If they had done it as well as they did the Dragon and Dragon Slayer, I think they would have pulled it off very well, because that dragon performance was, I thought that was a real dragon, the movement and everything. So to put that technology into this, that's why I say, you mentioned that if the people in Hollywood have the faith of making garbage that they make, give it to these people who are actually trying to make a difference and say, make something that might just actually turn out to be pretty much a good sweep of a film, But again, that's Hollywood for you.
It makes me wonder, you've got these mindless people in Hollywood that want to make money, not make decent films. It makes you wonder why they don't eventually just give fans the opportunity to get more involved in productions of films. Because I know, like we've seen in the past, where fans have had the opportunity to speak out in backlashes of certain things. It has changed films productions. One of the earliest things.
Let's be clear here, right? You can't have every fan, because we all have different ideas of what we want. So, like, even for the sequel to -1, like, I'd like to see either Anguirus or Biollante, but people want to see Destroya or something else, like a smog monster. Like, it just depends. Like, they can't listen to everybody because there's just too many ideas floating around. I mean, I do agree with you in theory, because we are the ones that are going to go see these films, but we run into that problem with like King of the Monsters, where the critics who aren't like diehard fans have no fucking clue who Ghidorah is, or Rodan, or Mothra. And so they give these fucking shitty ass reviews, and because they don't know the history.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to really fix that, other than just find directors that have the passion for it. But the problem we have with America is that we're just kind of soft on storytelling. We can't tell a story like Toho can. That's part of the problem for us.
Not only
I appreciate
but fans do have the power to change certain things. So an example is the backlash that, for example, the Sonic design had from the Sonic movie.
Oh yeah.
When they released the trailer and people seeing the Sonic the Hedgehog design, that absolutely went an uproar. So the studio went back and they redid the CGI. So that was through the power of the fans. So there is little inputs fans can give to make things better.
Yeah,
It's like It's like when they do these secret, screenings. Like, like I've heard of the grapevine that, for example, Captain America Brave New World has had 3 or 4 different secret screenings, and the fans have kind of said it not a lot of flattering things about it. So why are the studios doing these secret screenings with fans, or to get input to try and improve things that can be changed before its general release? So there is ways about it that you can go to maybe improve a film.
I mean, there's a negative and a positive to all that, but yeah, I mean, the end result is like we are the ones who are going to watch these films, and like I say, you just want to give out a good product, a good result of it, and hopefully, what you give will come back to you tenfold in profit. Because the end result is when they make these films, they ain't just making them for people to be entertained with. They're there to make the moolah so they can fill their pockets. But hopefully, that's the case.
Against Fedora.
Go ahead, Professor. Go ahead.
Godzilla using his breath to fly. I was like, I totally forgot about that until I was watching it. I was like, oh my god, this is so bad.
What I was going to say for Michael Dougherty's King of the Monsters from 2019, it's a movie I appreciate because Michael Dougherty is clearly a fan of Godzilla and he's made it for Godzilla fans. Admittedly, it's not in 100% everyone's taste, but the love and the spirit, it's there. It looks and feels like a genuine Godzilla movie made with passion, and that's what we really need more of. And not just in Godzilla movies,
one on my
in
list.
comic book movies as well.
Yeah, I mean it's like, I mean I'll just say like yeah, all you guys takes on it are pretty much spot on, man. Like, but now it's like, to me it seems that Hollywood loses money more than makes money because they're throwing out garbage, they're throwing out trash movies, and not all of them. There's a few diamonds. There's a few diamonds in the rough, but it's very, very few and far between. But like, I just like so many ideas, like Anubis was saying, Kevin, and those kind of ideas are just, you gotta like, man, like even the way some people come up with stories, like, and then how on YouTube you have some of these YouTubers that make pretty good animated like fight scenes between monsters you would never see fighting on the big screen, like Manguirus versus this, or Gigan versus whatever. So it's like it's just I don't have confidence in Hollywood right now. So I mean, but as far as the ideas like people can come up with, just like Walter said, throw out. They just want to make a product, and Kevin said, well, they don't do it anymore because they don't either. Everything they used back in when we were younger, like it's all obsolete now. What Walter said about Vermithrax from Dragon Slayer, all of that was puppetry and automation, and like it's all practical effects. So all of that is obsolete now. It's just obsolete. Now they waste more money. They waste more money doing shitty CGI and shitty movies than what they would do if they use practical effects.
I agree. I also agree with Orbit Askew's comment. Aside from tentpole spectacles, I can't imagine Hollywood being much of a gatekeeper anymore. Toho could just commission smaller studios. Anyone can be ILM these days.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The thing is, you do get the odd director who studied like films from the past that they enjoy, and they're trying to incorporate some of that into their films. So, for example, the likes of the director of the last Alien film, he brought back practical effects.
Yeah, Fede Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the facehuggers were puppet operated.
Oh yeah, like the facehuggers. So, like the face hookers in that, they were all practical effects.
Yep. That and the xenomorph was actually, it was both an animatronic and a stunt actor in a costume.
Yes. So let's talk. There's two more movies I want to talk about. Now, the first one you've mentioned already, which is the other American movie, which was the Stan Winston one from 1990. Is it 1994? It's due out. That was.
Yep.
So
Well, they have Kamanga, so Kamanga got his ass kicked in the end. Twice.
Yep.
Yes. So let's look at the Stan Winston 1994 film.
I mean, the second time, Kamanga wasn't necessarily punched or anything. He just got flung around into the distance.
That's true.
Yep.
So actually, there's actually three movies I want to talk about before we go. The first one is this one.
Oh. Is that the Ghost Godzilla?
This is Ghost Godzilla.
Ghost Godzilla?
Yes. Yes, there was a concept for Godzilla versus Godzilla, which turned out to be Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla. So
spooky.
So
hey, but Kevin, I was gonna tell you that I remember you said that you're not much of you don't really like a clone. You don't like clone Godzillas.
The thing is, because I think it's so repetitive now, it's been done to death. Mecha Godzilla, there's about 15 different types of Mecha Godzillas, and then you've got Space Godzilla. And I think that's a reason why they didn't go ahead with this. But I do like the idea of it. It depends how it's done as well.
Well, it's different.
So here it goes. And this film would have came out after Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, so that wouldn't have helped either. The fact you've just done a double ganger Space Godzilla, now you're wanting to do a Ghost Godzilla directly after it.
I'm waiting for a handicap Godzilla. He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually a film titled Bride of Godzilla as well, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'm
not shocked by that, actually.
It takes me back to the 80s Godzilla commercial, the Dr. Pepper commercial.
Yes.
The other
Dr. Pepper. C-85, all I can think of are the government officials in the Pentagon with Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
So this is the information I've got on Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla. Following the release of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla in 1994, Toho immediately began work on the next Godzilla film. Due to the impending release of the first American-produced Godzilla film by TriStar Pictures and its potential sequels, Toho decided to bring their series to a temporary close and cease production of Godzilla films until 2005. For the final entry of the Heisei series, Toho decided to harken back to the original 1954 film. In the first iteration of this idea, Godzilla Jr. travels back to 1954. So that straight away got my thinking, it's different. So he travels back to 1954 to fight against the original Godzilla. Later versions pitted Godzilla against the relentless spirit of the first Godzilla in the present. Concept art of Godzilla, or Ghost Godzilla, was submitted by Shinjuku Nishikawa on December the 27th, 1994. The artwork revealed that is one draft of the film, Ghost Godzilla would possess Little Godzilla and grow into a reincarnation of the 1954 Godzilla, known also as Godzilla Perfection. Concept art for a Heisei version of Anguirus were also included in the book that was released and was stated to be commissioned for Godzilla vs. Godzilla. Also, Shinji Nikishina's drawing book of Godzilla also contains concept art of Anguirus, designed New Anguirus and dated December the 22nd, 1994, and stated to be in a Godzilla vs. Godzilla. Nikishina suggested Anguirus to diversify the cast, which was otherwise comprised of 3 Godzillas. In another draft for the film, Ghost Godzilla possessed Anguirus instead of creating the new monster dubbed Godzaurus. In another draft, yes, Godzilla vs. Baragiris, Ghost Godzilla possesses the new kaiju Baragiris, who possessed traits of both Baragon and Anguirus. Godzilla vs. Godzilla also introduced the concept of the Anguirus Hound, a subspecies of Anguirus, which was carried over into Godzilla vs. Baru.
Damn straight. Although you spelled it wrong, but yeah, damn straight.
Ultimately, the concept was with different revisions written by Kazuki Omori and Shiji Nishikawa was discarded because director Takeo Okazawa felt that a consecutive film pitting Godzilla against a duplicate of himself after Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla would have been too much. The film was replaced with several other attempted projects, which eventually led to Godzilla vs. Destroyer.
Did they ever? Because you remember we went to G Fest, so Sentry, you picked up the Titanosaurus. Is that what it's called, or what is that newer company that's doing the new kaiju?
Oh, Titanic Creations.
Yeah, like I wish they kind of incorporate those. Man, those have some nice concepts.
Mm-hmm. So this is Ghost Godzilla. This is the reimagining of Anguirus.
What's going on with that? Is his armor? What is that?
Oh, this is a nod to 1955. If you look at the production stills or publicity stunts, they always showed Anguirus's back folding upwards like a set of wings.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I
don't like that too much.
And this is the hybrid known as the Anguirus Hound.
Okay.
He needs to eat a couple burgers.
Yep.
I think he's a few cans short of a 6-pack.
But that's that's a lot of Godzillas. Godzilla versus Godzilla, and Anguirus, Baragon, Anguirus. So I'm like, okay.
Well, it would have been Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, then it would have been Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, then it would have been Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla. So, in overall, it's just, I like me Godzilla, but that's a bit too much Godzilla.
Yeah, that's a lot of, I was like, wow, okay, like,
The part of the plot, though, that I like is the idea of Godzilla Jr. going back to 1954 and taking on the 1954 Godzilla. I thought that element of the plot was great. I just thought it was something unique and different.
You know what I think? This is just something I'm like an idea. Like if they did go with that, Godzilla Jr. goes through a wormhole in the ocean. It goes through like some kind of wormhole or whirlpool that sends him back to 1954. and he meets up with Godzilla, or he sees the bones. He goes to the ocean, sees the bones, and the bones for some reason start to. You could see like an apparition grow out of it, and then Godzilla got this. The ghost Godzilla takes a form in the water, and then he taunts Godzilla Jr. And then he goes to the surface, and then and then he just. Then he tries to take over, Godzilla Jr. or tries to possess him. That's just
so it's like, so it sounds like Junior inadvertently disturbing the resting place of the original Godzilla. Then there's some sort of retribution possesses him. Then he goes back to the present day 1995, for example. Then it's Heisei Godzilla versus his son, who's really possessed by the OG Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had like a battle with him, like an internal battle. Like he has an internal battle, and then like say another monster were to show up for some reason, and Godzilla takes possession of that monster, and then makes the true form of Ghost Godzilla, and then they fight, and then that's shit, dude. We can come up with a better we can come up with a better story than Ghostbusters did.
I like the time. For me, I like the time travel element, and I like the fact that they was going to reintroduce it to the 1954 Godzilla.
They did do time travel before with Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah in 1991.
Yeah, yes, they did. So the next movie, there's two more to talk about. Walter, what did you think of that whole idea of Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla?
Walter's like, I'm ghosting.
But no, I know you. I didn't hear you when you said that. It's like, what? It's like, no, I'm listening to all of y'all. I was like, well, I mean, the simple fact is you're battling the OG Godzilla. I mean, the concept of the son going back in time. Actually, I was thinking that what if he accidentally kills that version of Godzilla and he becomes the Godzilla from the rest of the Showa series? I mean, that's kind of a weird concept too, but that's just an idea.
Wait, so it triggers a paradox effect where it wasn't the 54 Godzilla that died, but it was Junior who was killed by the Oxygen Destroyer, and the original Godzilla takes Junior's place in the battle against the Heisei Godzilla.
Yeah, it's weird because when you deal with time travel, you're stepping on a lot of broken glass.
Stepping on my dreams.
Yeah.
Shattered dreams.
So the next movie, and then we'll talk about the last one because the last one's going to be fun. Let's talk about, of course, the 1994 Stan Winston Godzilla film, which, I looked at this thing like it had stop motion, it had suitmation. For me, this was going to be like the closest thing a Godzilla film could be to a Ray Harryhausen film. Well, a Ray Harryhausen film, I was thinking.
Well, yeah, I can see it. It looks definitely like a dinosaur.
That looks good too. Like that's a good.
I like how
like
they've incorporated a paddle-like tail in the design, so it's not.
Ricardo Delgado. So that's Ricardo. That's Ricardo Delgado.
Oh, the designer there, the sculptor.
He's the one that was the guy in the red long hair. He's the one designing it. Well, he's doing it. He's doing it straight out of like they do it. He's shaving the clay. He's he's shaving the clay and molding it. And he already has the mandibles right there. That looks freaking cool, man. Like that's a talent that takes a lot of patience, man.
Yeah, and this was just before computers took over with CGI models.
Well, Jurassic Park, what year did that come? It was in 1992.
Oh, yeah, 1993. That's right. Yeah.
That was 1993.
So that was 1993, and this was they were working on this for 1994. So this would have come out the year after Jurassic Park.
That's right.
After Jurassic Park, yeah.
Which is crazy to think. But I'll just read a little bit about it. So Godzilla 1994 is an unmade American Godzilla film, the predecessor to the TriStar Pictures 1998 Godzilla film. It was written in 1994 by Terry Rossio, and Ted Elliott, and revisited by Don McPherson in 1995 with a planned 1996 release date. Jan de Bont was attached to direct. Todd Tennant and Eldon Orderland completed a graphic novel adaptation of Rosso's and Elliott's script. Commissioned by Rosso in 2015, it was released for free on kaijufilm.com starting November the 22nd, 2018. So the actual graphic novel adaptation of this film is actually available online.
Wow.
I don't think it's a graphic novel. It's like the film adaptation, like in book form. So you can actually read the plot and everything. In 1992, Toho sold the rights to produce an American Godzilla film to Sony Pictures Entertainment, who assigned the project to the newly acquired subsidiary TriStar Pictures. Terry Rosso and Ted Elliott were brought in to write a script for the film, which was completed in 1994. TriStar was satisfied enough with the screenplay to begin searching for directors. The screenplay caught the eye and attention of director Jan de Bont after he had just finished directing the film Speed. Sony hired him, but studio and director soon came to blows over the budget. Sony estimated that Russo and Elliott's script would cost an unacceptable 140 to 180 million. Even after they revised the project, budget only fell to 120 million. De Bont thought that it could be done for 100 million, but could never come to an agreement. Additionally, he felt the studio was using the situation to cram its own ideas into the script, which is something we know happens all the time with Hollywood.
Studio interference.
Well, that's prevalent. That's very prevalent now. Like at least back then, directors still had a say for what they wanted to do. They still had a lot of sway in trying to get what their vision is. But now, like they're saying, like studio interference, and they don't let the directors take over anymore. Why do you think all these movies suck now? Because because the higher ups in a movie company or whatever don't like the merchandise, or they don't like the product of what their director's doing. They say, oh no, you got to change it up. Like, oh, why you got to change it up? Well, if you don't change it up, we'll get another director. That's what sucks. Directors everybody gets replaced real quick now. Like, we can replace you with another one.
Oh yeah, that's why directors walk away. They just say, fuck it, you're not gonna let me do it my way. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we can all agree that the 2019 Hellboy wasn't a great film. But it's not the film that the director wanted to make. Apparently, every idea he had, or every time he wanted to do something, the studio interjected and wouldn't let him do it. That's why David Harper got so frustrated as well with the production.
You mean you could say that the same could be applied to David Fincher's Alien 3? I mean, that movie was just a chock-a-block with studio interference and all sorts of problems behind production. The whole sets were built without a clear screenplay in mind. But the screenplay wasn't even finished. It was just being changed from one writer to another with various elements of different screenplays, all incomplete, put into one screenplay, which made the final cut. Now, the Alien movies are known for having a director's cut. Alien 3 does not. What exists instead is the assembly version, which it tries to bring the film closer to what David Fincher originally had for his vision. But in order for that to be done, Fincher would have to remake the whole movie from scratch with 100% creative control, which he never did back in 1990.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cluster fuck of
Mm.
guys
Like,
like higher up thinking they can make the movie better, and and totally bypassing the director's vision.
mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
that,
know that the plot for this film has been released online and the script as well, and apparently the whole plot was about them discovering this ancient creature Godzilla, but then there's something awakens, which is the Griffin or the Griffith, which is I don't know if it's an alien entity or an ancient being, but that's the main antagonist in this film.
The Griffin, yeah.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that. That just looks badass. To see, like, to say that take on this version of Godzilla would have been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. All of that work of doing the the molding, the miniatures, the animatronics, the that suitmation, all of that where did it go? All of that was made for nothing. All of that
Probably would have been destroyed.
So
I mean,
making all of that, yeah.
And given that
Go ahead,
Stan
sir.
Winston was
Go ahead.
involved in this project, surely there would be some fragments or some evidence of it somewhat existing in the Stan Winston School of Special Effects, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, according to what I'm reading here, a graphic novel adaptation of the film illustrated by Todd Tennant with assistance from Eldon Orderland was released online for free during Thanksgiving 2018. So there is an actual graphic novel somewhere online of the Stan Winston basically produced Godzilla film. And another fun fact, there is some trivia that goes alongside this movie. So ironically, the budget of 100 million to 120 million, which TriStar could not agree with the bond, on that ended up sending the film to development hell, was exceeded by Ronald Emmerich and Dean Devlin's version of the film in 1998. So they couldn't agree on budget, but then they allowed them to have as much money as they want, and that's simply because Independence Day was a huge hit.
Yes, it was.
And to think they spent millions of dollars on the random bottles with sculpturing and everything. It's like, y'all lost money doing that. Y'all could have kept that, so it could have been the project that the Bond would have wanted to make. But
yeah, several plot elements from the film appear to have been reused in the legendary pictures Godzilla, as in both films, Godzilla is believed to be a descendant to save the Earth from a far greater threat to it than to him. It was the Mutos, and to the 1994 Godzilla it would have been the Griffin. Both films have both films have Godzilla beheading their enemy monster, and the military believes Godzilla to be the bigger threat in both films until Godzilla defeats the main threat. The only differences are while the Godzilla in this film does seem to deliberately attack human settlements, particularly the Japanese Kurita Island, and decimate the military forces willingly, while the legendary Godzilla does not.
Well, Godzilla just sees that's funny because Godzilla just sees us as a nuisance. Like we're not that's all.
Yeah, so it just shows you though, like we mentioned before, you can take elements from previous films or unproduced films and add them that to films that are about to be produced, which is what happened. They even took elements from the 1994 Godzilla and put it into the Legendary movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good concept. It's just, you know, and even the 2014 movie was started. They barely started the you know, getting everything set up in 2012, and they didn't make the movie until 2014. So, I mean, it wasn't in development hell. It just they kept like you know, it just took them that long to come up with a concept, come up with a story, and then get the actors and everything. I mean, but it's it's a shame, man. I mean, I would have definitely rather would have watched that one than 98. You know, the one with Roland Emmerich. But
Plus, they already had the Marvel crossover. They had Craven in it.
All right.
Right, are we ready to talk about the final film?
All right, what's the final film, brother?
The final movie of the Godzilla Unmade is this one.
Fucking
yeah.
Yeti.
Legendary Wolfman versus Godzilla.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Now, do you know much about this film?
I know, wasn't it isn't it a fan film initially, but it had official? No.
It got
Was it
approval by
unofficial involvement
Toho.
with Toho?
It was unofficial, but it did get like approval from Toho. But then at the last minute, they changed their mind and they shut it down.
Ah,
Do you know who was pissed off that this movie didn't get finished and released?
Haruo Nakajima.
Nope, he's a huge fan of kaiju movies and he wants to be in one, which he has yet to be, and he really wanted to see this and they wouldn't release it.
Anubis. See, fucking Tony knows.
Is he Japanese?
Right.
Is he
Let's see if you recognize this man.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
Yes. Okay, I didn't know that. That's okay.
No, that makes
Hey.
sense.
That's what I'm saying.
This makes sense because in an interview on 5 News, he was doing a video interview, and I noticed on the shelf behind him there was some Ultraman kaiju on the shelf behind him, and I was like, "Yeah, he likes kaiju. This guy's good."
To me, it just still has not made sense why he's never made an appearance in a MonsterVerse film. It's just a matter of time, I would like to think. But it could be the same like what happened with Superman. You know, he wanted Superman and it just didn't go his way. So,
Well, because Nick, he's a bit of aloof, like he's goofy in his characters. Like it doesn't even like something like Mandy, like where it's more serious. He still has a sense of goofiness about him. So it's like whether or not it would fit in the film, depending on what his role would be. I guess if Dan Stevens can pull it off as a goof, I guess he could have too. But
I was just gonna say he could have played Trapper. Nicolas Cage could have played Trapper.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
So-
it's crazy. Like, I mean, hey man, poor guy, but I mean, like, I have to agree with Anubis. It's like even when they put him in the horrible, you know, Flash movie when he was just a multiverse, whatever, he was a Superman, but he had long hair. Nicolas Cage. So yeah, but that's crazy right there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You're better off just getting King Caesar for that.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'll read a little bit about it.
Yeah, I'd like to know how the Wolfman got so big.
You're right. That's
Right.
the thing.
So the Wolfman versus Godzilla. Legendary Beast Wolfman vs. Godzilla was the other name, is an incomplete fan film directed and produced by Shinzo Nakajima. Like Nakajima's previous project, Wolfman vs. Baragon, he assembled the production with the assistance of several former Toho employees. Though filming began in 1983 and wrapped in the mid-1980s, the film has yet to be completed or released officially. So this is the plot. From what has been revealed, the plot of Wolfman vs. Godzilla consists of a werewolf appearing in Japan, which becomes irritated and irradiated and grows to kaiju size. The giant Wolfman encounters Godzilla in the countryside and the two monsters battle. Godzilla is portrayed as a rampaging monster like in the early Showa era films, but the lesser of the two evils compared to the Wolfman.
You know, it's better off if they actually just bring in the Gargantuan, because a lot of people want to see that too, that crossover. So, like, just bring Gargantuan in to play or fight against Godzilla.
So it's got principal photography of Wolfman versus Godzilla began in 1983 and concluded in the mid-1980s. As of 2013, post-production editing, sound design and visual effects is ongoing.
How the hell did they... Oh, so I'm sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's physically made. It's just never been released.
No.
Yeah.
Isn't there also some footage missing as well?
Well, speaking of footage, I may have some.
Ooh,
Oh shit!
nice.
Yes, in early 2022, a 22-minute edit of the film from 2013 was uploaded to YouTube by the user Steven Sloss. And I just happened to have a look and found some of that footage. So, are we ready to see some Wolfman versus Godzilla?
No.
Well,
You're outbid there, Anubis.
hands up.
Well, I don't think I'm gonna have a choice anyway. So just play the fucking thing, idiot.
There we go.
Oh, yep, he's gone.
Wow, you did.
Oh.
Boom.
Yeah.
Science fiction artists.
Oh my god! The fuck?
Wait, is that the Pee Wee Herman Godzilla suit? Pee Wee
No,
Herman.
this
I don't
is
think
the King Goji suit from 1962's King Kong versus Godzilla.
Damn, that thing is falling apart.
Your tail's
Yeah.
on fire.
There's the Wolfman.
His balls are now on
wow,
fire.
look at that leap.
Yeah.
Wolfman's got nods.
Yep.
Man, that one is falling. That suit is falling apart.
He did, yes. Well, hell, you think about it, that suit is over 20 years old, so I mean, it makes sense it would be tearing apart.
Yeah.
I'm a Yeti. I'm a big white Yeti.
I mean, for the suit's age, although it is crumbling apart, it still looks good for the most part, I think.
No, it's pretty decent. I don't think it's meant to be taken too seriously. It's just to say, okay, we're doing this and we're making a good film that
Well,
people might
yeah,
be able
because
to enjoy.
I mean, they might as well have went with like Frankenstein versus Godzilla or some shit.
But it would have had more money with that one.
Yeah.
Oh, kick rocks.
Plus,
man.
plus the problem with this,
Yep.
the problem with this is that it looks a bit too much like Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
So it's
I
probably
think
why
it-
it's never been released.
Also, it's down to the studio. The studio probably won't allow it to be released.
Here, eat my tail, bitch.
Wow, he just right.
Grab him by the nards.
No, that'd
Yep.
be too graphic.
See, the Wolfman suit looks better than the Godzilla suit
Yeah.
in better
Yeah.
in better
Oh my
condition.
god, he actually gonna take. He is, yes. He's doing.
Yep.
He's gonna do a King Kong. Here, eat your vegetables, bitch.
Oh, he did.
Yep.
He literally did it. Oh, my face is on fire.
Right? Yeah, Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, like
Boy, his face
Halloween's
is really on
gone.
fire.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
promised
that's,
no actors were hurt while making that scene.
I would hope so. Wow.
So there we have it. So would you ever want to see that fully released?
No. It's
I
terrible.
would, just because it's Godzilla, I would probably just buy it, but not watch it and keep it on my keep it right there on a DVD shelf forever.
I
But
think I
that's-
would watch it.
Yeah, I'd watch it out of curiosity, also to see how the plot went.
Mhm. I haven't got it, but I have seen the footage of the man when he transforms into the werewolf in the prosthetics that they use, and that looked really good.
Yeah, it was like,
And then
yeah, I was going to say it's a bit. It reminds me the first time I saw that a bit of American Werewolf in London with the effects by Rob Bottin with the muscles and all that stretching out as he was turning into the wolf.
yeah,
See,
Yeah, that
like,
was
I even-
really good
like-
for a movie like this.
I think if it had the classic like Toho soundtrack and give the Wolfman at least a decent role, then depending on how it's edited together, I could have ended up being a decent movie. Like at the end of the day, if we can accept God's Frankenstein conquers the world, I'm sure we can accept a Wolfman. And it would have been interesting to see if that would have been another spin-off. Frankenstein versus the Wolfman.
Yeah,
Frankenstein
like,
or Godzilla versus Dracula. That's
even
next.
even Frankenstein looked pretty brutal, man. Even Frankenstein conquers the world, like he looked a little iffy, man. But I mean, they did the best they could. So, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it, but it's just there's so many aspects. Okay, how are they gonna pay? How are they gonna get it through Toho? How are they gonna get it to EG Tsuburaya, to Honda-san, and get Akira Fukube to do the music and everything. Like that's a lot of money, man. And Toho's even back then, Toho's always been very, very protective of Godzilla as far as
But
paid
the
licenses and stuff.
But the fact that they allowed this director and staff members from Toho to get this far with it shows that there must have been some sort of interest. The fact that they allowed them to use a suit and they're like on the set, they're on a Toho set, and they did like a port, like a mock port, like that's a different post, I believe. But if I would have loved to have seen it. Like even that poster with Nicolas Cage looks better than the actual poster that.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that looks like just a mock-up, but this poster looks like an official Toho poster.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've had a little look at Godzilla Unmade, unproduced Godzilla movies. So going forward, I'll ask my final question. I'll go around and ask. So DJ Anubis, if they did decide to make a future Godzilla movie, what would you like to see in it? Like, what kaiju?
Oh, okay. So are we talking like outside of the current franchises, like just something off the wall?
Yeah, what would you like to see in a Godzilla movie?
I don't know. Like whatever they do, I'm kind of tired. Like the issue that I have, like the werewolf guy, is that it's a little bit too samey to Kong, and just like the one thing, like I loved Empire, but again, we're dealing with Kong and Godzilla together, so like I kind of want to get past Kong, at least on my end. I know America won't, but I want to see something different. And you kind of brought it up with the too many Godzillas, like too many lookalikes in this. So I want to kind of get past that. I want to get something that's more creative. So, you know, again, Titanic Creations, like they have some cool concepts. So why not hook up with them and come up with something with a new creature that Godzilla can take on? Like, there's so many endless possibilities. And if they're, you know, again, outside of the regular franchise, because I think, what is it, Yamazaki? Like, if he does his sequel, you'd like to see the Biollante or Angarius come back because they just haven't been done in a very long time. So that's pretty much where I'm at. And then, of course, we've talked about it before with Legendary that I'd still love to see a Mothra or Rodan origin story for both those kaiju, you know, but they won't get done either because I don't think they're going to put the money in it. But my personal opinion, that's where they should go.
Yeah. Walter Ross.
Well, I have to say that's kind of hard on my end with that thought process, but I would really say that, yeah, try to come up with a different concept for a kaiju, kind of like what Anubis was saying. You know, I mean, I wouldn't mind if you brought back certain ones, but kind of do like what they did with Biollante with Destroya. You know, I mean, these were new concept kaijus, you know, and even though Biollante didn't, you know, do money making at the time, it still became a fan favorite. So it's like take the leap of faith and try to come up with something that's fresh and, you know, someone's never heard of, man, because you never really know. I mean, if they do that with the Toho films, you know, I feel like try that. I mean, you've done it before, you know, do it again. And same with the Legendary films, you know, it's like, don't be afraid to feel like, oh, if we bring this back or we put this in there, it's like it's gonna mess up the franchise. It's like, dude, you don't know what's gonna sink or swim. You know, I mean, just like Godzilla, he's gonna swim through every obstacle that you throw at him. So I would feel like just put something out there that's gonna say, hey, he's got somebody to battle. Okay, we're good. Whatever that particular monster comes up with, I mean, and where it goes from there, that's anybody's guess. You can't control that. So hopefully they just do that.
Very good. Sci-Fi Sentry.
Man, fuck. I mean, Anubis and Walter already put up good points. I would just say make it something smaller, like not something super big budget, but bring it down to it's like, you know, use suitmation, use animatronics, a little bit of CGI, but make it something like, okay, I agree with Anubis. Kong, I'm done with Kong. Godzilla, keep Godzilla around, but make a monster, make a newer monster, like say the part of the main story, and then bring Godzilla in and just add to it, add other, you know, like add a better story, you know, and just build something around it. You know what I'm saying? Just build that freaking use more ideas, but like keep it, you know, don't reuse and recycle the same the Kong. Put Godzilla in there, but give him like a supporting role, but yet make it to the point where it's relevant to the story, and it adds build up, and do 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, but just keep it basic, simple, but something new. Like use it something new, a catastrophic event, something that maybe Godzilla and another monster would have to stop. As much as they hate humanity, they would have to, you know, stop this so the Earth something based.
See, that's the thing too. Is like I even though I didn't like Shin Godzilla all that much, I like the fact that Toho was thinking outside the box with it. Like they created something on Godzilla that was really different.
Yeah.
You know, I probably preferred if they had done like just a whole different monster, but I love the fact that they were just thinking outside the box because it really came out pretty crazy. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's pretty much my take. Like just build something off of it, but make it something where it's a catastrophic event that doesn't have to do with another kaiju. Like It's actually maybe something like another, like a meteorite or something that happens in the Earth. Godzilla is the only one that can stop it, or Godzilla and another, like say, protagonist monster. They just, not something that's basic. Oh, stop with the freaking, oh, there's another monster. There's another monster. Like, do it something different. Do it something based off of a catastrophic event. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Daniel Miller, what would you like to see?
Well, there's lots I'd like to see. At the top of my list is a Godzilla movie with Varan as Godzilla's rival. I mean, come on. He was meant to come back in the Heisei era. He didn't. He's been teased in Singular Point, at least in Godzilla's evolutionary design, and that's all that pretty much became of him. So I think, okay, look, it's about time that he got a proper reintroduction and he actually becomes a worthy enough opponent for Godzilla in another movie. Another thing I would like to see is now the concept of Godzilla and space travel is one thing. So what I have an idea is this. Say, for instance, hundreds of years into the future, we've colonized Mars and we're colonizing an Earth-like world, but it's not breathable for human beings. So they're trying to process the atmosphere. Think the atmospheric processes in James Cameron's Aliens, that sort of thing. But when they actually start changing the atmosphere, the Earth breaks apart into pieces, and there's this big gargantuan kaiju that looks dinosaurian, but at the same time it has elements of nature incorporated into it. So it's like this fossil that has tendrils acting as nervous systems all around this body, and it's basically Godzilla, but it's a corpse from the Earth on an alien world, fighting off humanity, which is basically like an invasion force of something. So that's one area to potentially take it into. That may not be everyone's cup of tea, and I get that, but if it's done in the right way, there may be something in that avenue. Yeah. A third thing I'd like to see is a more horror-centric take on Godzilla. Like, for instance, look at Shin Godzilla's design. Think of that, except we actually see those humanoids falling off of Godzilla, and there's this a bit like if you've seen Cloverfield.
Yep.
See the part where
Parasites.
smaller monsters fall off them and they're fighting the soldiers on the ground. Make that, but with this gory, decaying Godzilla, with all these Godzilla's human xeno sorts running around the place. So it's like, this is the end of the world. This is how the world ends, not with a bang, but with a monster.
As for me, I think all I want is, I think if whatever the next Godzilla movie is, that's getting produced from Toho. I think the possibility of it being a direct sequel to -1's pretty high right now. But I know a lot of people want it to be a direct, like, remake of Godzilla Raids Again with Anguillus. I've heard that. I wouldn't mind that, but eventually I would love them to give Bagan his respect in his on-screen debut. As for the Monsterverse, I very much would like the next movie to be more focused on Godzilla and be more serious in tone, like 2014. And if I've always said all of these movies that these kaiju, the Titans that they've introduced to the Monsterverse, they're pretty much just counterparts to the Toho. So you've got Zilla. She's basically a combination of potentially Kumonga and Ebera. You've got Tiamat, who is basically their version of Manda. So there's some monsters I wish that would have gotten a bigger screen push, like Behemoth, or eventually allow it to see on screen the giant back kaiju. Camazotz.
Camazotz. Yeah.
I think Camazotz deserves a screen appearance as well. But I think eventually, if they do decide to end the MonsterVerse, I think they'll end it in a giant destroy all monsters type film. I think that's the way it would have to go, where it would be the military versus the kaiju, or you could have another Titan that arrives that becomes in the new Alpha, maybe Destroyer, who knows, or a new, original legendary Titan that takes control of all of the Titans, and it's basically Godzilla, Kong, Mothra, potentially Shimu versus this group of other Titans for the survival of the planet. That's kind of where I see it going.
Oh, what do you guys think of
she
this?
was a tall order, man. She was. Oh, sorry, Daniel. So she was a Shimu, Kong, Godzilla, and even the if what's his name the little
Zuko.
Zuko grows and they jump, they time skip. I mean that's a lot, man. I mean freaking Shimu just frees all them motherfuckers, bro. She just frees all them motherfuckers. Go back to sleep. Stay there. You guys belong on the ground, but I'll keep you frozen. Don't worry about it. But it's just I did this before to add to that, Kevin. -1. -1 is going to be a tall order to surpass.
Yeah,
That's Loki.
That's a tall order. That's all I'll say. But that's it.
I would like to. I think when it comes to -1, I think he had already signed on prior to the Oscars. I think after the Oscar buzz and it got nominated, I think Toho were like, right, we've got to lock you in. And it would not surprise me if he did his own trilogy. And there's rumours that he wants to introduce Hedorah, which I wouldn't say no to either. But it wouldn't be surprised if the second one, whatever it is to be, does well, that we'll get a third one. And he rounded off with the first ever, I guess, Toho officially created trilogy. Because right now, Godzilla's the highest he's ever been in popularity, especially to like a wider audience. So right now, it's the time to capture on his popularity. What about Gamera?
Yep. I wouldn't mind seeing that finally.
Remember you had mentioned something about Bride of Godzilla? What if the character of Nico, what if she becomes a hybrid or something like Godzilla in the next film? What if that becomes the potential of that?
Well, I thought the idea for Noriko would be like she's sort of like the catalyst for Violante, has that connection.
But yeah, no.
Both of those sound like really good ideas.
I've heard as well, though, is one of the ideas is for the human story, because that's the thing that made -1 amazing, was the human, the survival guild story, is that anybody that was affected by the DNA or the radiation, they get ostracized by the government and the public. They become basically, they're like leopards, they have to live in their own communities. They're looked at like, not human anymore. They're treated differently, they're treated like a different race. And I think that's one of the potential stories, that it's going to show you like how people are treated differently in society because of an illness or because of, the way they look, and I think that would be a good part of the human story. And it'll be like, how does Noriko, how does she cope knowing that she's got this illness, or she's no longer treated or looked at like the way she was before? So it very much could be her story, but it could also be the story of how does he accept her for how she is now.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of those elements are going to play into the plot of the second movie.
It's possible.
But that is just a little bit from me and a little bit from my amazing guests. But of course, every good thing has to come to an end, including Godzilla Unmade.
Yeah, just one last thing before we before we stop the train, what if in the MonsterVerse, if they're able to get the rights to, what if they brought back the 1998 Geno, Matthew Broderick's Godzilla, and basically made him the antithesis of the legendary Godzilla? So you have this creature that's misidentified as Godzilla at first, and it's treated more like the vermin of the kaiju because its ability to replicate without the use of a partner. So Godzilla is basically cleaning up this infestation. He's like an exterminator going on against these smaller Zillas that are like pests.
I don't think that would
Kind of
happen.
like
I
the
think,
Megaguirus type thing.
I think if they were going to bring in a kaiju to combat Godzilla, they like to be like, you know, a force direct. I would bring in Titanosaurus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think if they did a -1 sequel, they could do something where there's a giant sea creature attacking the ships, attacking the millet, and they just assume it's Godzilla, but it isn't. It turns out to be something a lot bigger and a lot more dangerous. Titanosaurus. That's just what I would do. But anyway, like I was about to say, every good thing comes to an end, including Godzilla Made. Thank you for everybody who's watched and interacted with my amazing guests tonight. As have all been amazing. I love talking kaiju. I love talking film with my not just fellow content creators, but more importantly, my good friends. Starting from the top to the bottom, DJ Anubis, anything coming to the Metal Tavern Radio?
Next week, at least on Thursday, the 19th, I will be getting with Anthony Jordan from Movies and Gaming. We're going to be doing another Kaiju Spotlight show for King Ghidorah. So we'll be doing that. I don't know, Tony, you know, we're supposed to be doing Ghouls at Midnight, but I don't know if he wants to keep taking the rest of the month off or not. But I'm ready to do another Ghouls if he is. So we'll see if we get that worked in. If we do, that's going to be his pick for Free Jack. And then, of course, Kevin, there's a couple things I got with you. Yeah, a couple things I have to get caught up with you on with Cinematic Synergy with Savage Dawn, and then, of course, the Kamanga, or not Savage Dawn, excuse me, Split Second. That's the one we're doing. And then Kamanga Spotlight for the Kaiju stuff. So that's basically the immediate stuff that I'm trying to get done.
Yeah, and hopefully some point, hopefully maybe before Christmas, we can try and squeeze in Come in Peace for the retro classic movie show.
Yeah.
Mr. Jedi Grand Velle, anything coming to your channel?
Yeah, thankfully I'll be off the next 2 weeks coming after next week. I got I'm going to be when I say reacting, I'm going to give my personal feel about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 when I go see it, and I will be talking about that because I've actually liked the two others, surprisingly. Hopefully the third one would be a disappointment, but I mean, you know, sometimes the third one's always the one that lets you down the most, but I will be doing that next, I think it'll be next weekend when I do that, so that'll be a long one.
Yes. Sci-Fi Century.
Probably just continuing a few game uploads and live gameplay. That's it. I mean, no, never say never. I mean, towards the end of the month, I might be, hey, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do that. Because I'm getting that itch again to keep active. Because I'm pretty much already taking this whole month off. So yeah, and I took all of last month. The second of last month I took off. So, but we'll see from there. But I'll keep everyone updated.
Cool. Mr. Daniel Miller.
A bit of a snag.
That wasn't very convincing.
But
right,
a bit of a snag. But I'm constantly on the lookout for new things to bring to the channel, whether it be a short story or some video game editing or even a short stop motion, which I do have planned, that currently have been written in note form. I have expanded on them, and I do have some new additions to my shelf, which I do hope to get on the screen, if not at the end of this year, then at some point in 2025. I'm not saying never say never. I'm not saying don't expect anything. I'm just saying keep your eyes and ears open. You may never know.
Marvelous. Yeah, as for me in the entertainment headquarters, like I say, me and DJ Anubis, hopefully at some point before Christmas, if not after Christmas, we'll be doing the Retro Classic Movie Show, and it is the movie Come in Peace. And obviously that's me signing out till after Christmas and the new year, and we've got lots and lots of things planned for the channel in January, including the next Kaiju Konnections Classic Kaiju review, which will be the audience's choice, the giant behemoth. So until then, from me and from my amazing guests, like I always say, keep loving your movies, keep on loving all things entertainment, and we'll catch us all at the next one. Oh, and what is it you like to say, Mr. Walter Ross? Keep the kaiju
love alive. That's what I'm talking about.